Hello, and welcome to the Athena Herd podcast with Jennifer Geach and myself, Graham Green. Today, we're going to be talking to a group of our friends in our community about making it happen. And making it happen is something that has been very close to our own hearts this year through these COVID times, of reaching out, finding other ways to reach out to people and to take our learning beyond the present or physical presence here at Athena Herd. So Jennifer's going to tell you a little bit more about how our journey of exploring and developing a remote program, our remote certificate in equine facilitated learning. So Jennifer.
Thank you, Graham. Hi, everyone. Yes, it's been a really interesting year, I think, for everybody, and not only ourselves here at Athena Herd. So what's been really interesting for us, even before COVID, we had actually entertained, or at least started to think about, just really offering an online, interactive online training session. We reached out to the ACCPH that accredits our training programs, and even discussed this idea of looking at experiential learning and really training people online. Even though we talked about it quite a lot amongst ourselves, didn't we, Graham?
Yeah, we did.
we weren't really convinced, and I think what was interesting was initially we had been approached by people that just couldn't get to us from just from a travel point of view, financial aspects, or even just geographical or family commitments. So there were quite a few reasons why people were not able to travel and be with us on site, and really get or take the benefit of working with the herd of horses here at Athena. So I think we sort of parked it, didn't we? We sort of parked it for a while.
We were in denial about it for a little bit, I think.
Even though I kept literally nudging you.
You did.
A few gentle nudges about what do we think?
We do need to think about this, Graham.
So we sort of bubbled away around this whole idea of offering experiential learning in a remote context, but didn't really think, we didn't really put it into motion, let's say, even though we had identified the need.
Yeah, we knew there was a need, but and this is really where it ties into this topic of making it happen, is that we knew people wanted it, we knew we could do it, but so for example, from my personal point of view, in terms of getting the materials together, I couldn't quite get my head into how do I get experiential online. And I just had the good fortune to deliver a coaching program online for somebody in a non-equine environment, literally just after the COVID lockdown. And suddenly it's one of those moments where you have this epiphany, and suddenly you realize that, yes, you can do this. There are ways that you can make this happen. And so what the conversation that Jennifer and I then started to have, very heavily supported by Jennifer's husband, Brent, was actually, how do we get some tools in place online that would facilitate that? So we managed to get some good tools inserted into the Athena Herd website so that we were able to create online assignments. We worked out that we could do group sessions through Zoom. And then we realized that if we got people to record and submit videos, we could have actually group exchanges around that information and have a very interactive discussion with our learners about the development of this work for them. And so sometimes it just takes that little nudge to make you realize that you can do stuff. And that's what happened from our point of view.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really great way of describing it, Graham. I think it's just that light bulb moment, isn't it, in all of this? And also for us, we were really passionate about bringing the Athena Herd into the programme. So as Graham said, along with the learners recording their experiences and us being able to get that interactive experiential learning with them, we also did quite a few videos, didn't we, here on site of the herd, of some of the exercise. Sorry, you
anyway, just to really get that experience, the feel of being here. So part of what we wanted our learners to experience, even though they weren't here, is what it was like to be here at Athena Herd.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So without any further ado, we're going to hand over, or we're going to go over now to the recording of the discussion. I hope you enjoy this, and this is, from our point of view, a great and inspiring conversation, just hearing from other people how they overcame some of their obstacles to making this happen. Okay, so we're going. It's great to be here with everyone. Jennifer and I have gathered a few friends to explore this idea that we've talked about already, about making it happen, and just really sort of reaching out to people and finding out how some people have overcome their obstacles or challenges to making equine facilitated learning or equine assisted work for them. So Jennifer, would you like to introduce the room or find out who we've got in the room?
Indeed, thanks, Graham, and welcome everybody. It's quite exciting. We've got such a diverse group here in the room. So Jodie, hi, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody for us?
Yeah, hi Jennifer, thanks. Yeah, my name's Jodie Mail and I run Insightful Horsemanship based in Bucks. I'm a qualified riding and EFL coach, and it helps that I bring the riding and owners also with my EFL work. You know, really working on relationship with owners and horses. And then when I go through to the EFL stuff, then I'm working with corporates and the NHS. And over the last few years, really tended to work a lot with young people. So they might be struggling at school or have mental health issues or special needs. And I just really love the EFL work. You know, I've been doing it for about 10 years now, and it's just that it's so inclusive. You know, everyone can have that benefit of horses, and seeing that light bulb moment that people can see the change is just fantastic.
Yeah, and I think having such a diverse background and experience, Jodie, that puts you in a really good place, I think, you know, for doing this work. Brilliant. Yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
Brilliant. So we'll move over and say hi to Kai, who's joining us here as well. Hi Kai, welcome.
Hi Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Kai Manchester and I'm based in York. I run Equerapy, which is a mixture of the equine facilitated learning and counselling, because I'm also a qualified counsellor.
Brilliant. Again, very different skills, so welcome.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's move on to Shelley, who's also with us here today. Hi, Shelley.
Hello. Hi, Jen. Yeah, I'm Shelley, and I'm based in Australia, in Queensland. And I've worked for a wonderful charity called Healing Hooves, and we do a lot of this work. I've been there for 5 years now, just volunteering my time, but it's given me brilliant experience in this work, dealing with basically anyone who feels that horses will benefit their lives. I've had challenges in my life as well, so I know how horses can benefit and help in this way, and it's just a wonderful experience. And I'm quite new to this work, the EFL, well, new to kind of setting up by myself. So I'm thinking of setting up by myself, hopefully, you know, in the next 6 months to a year. So that's quite exciting. So I'm just learning all the way, and I just love doing this work and just want to learn more and more.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Shelley. Really exciting times.
I know.
Yeah, bless you. Well, welcome. Kylie, hi.
Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Last but not least, I'm great. Yes. How are you?
I'm good. And Moyen to everybody. I'm based in Luxembourg. I'm actually Australian, and I've been here for 11 years now. And about 5 years ago, I was offered a role as a riding instructor, and from there I had a shift about 12 months in, where I went off and studied to become an equine facilitated learning practitioner. And I have been running my practice business here in Luxembourg for the last 3 years, and it's called Clarity. And I work with a wide range of people who are able to speak and communicate with me in all ranges in English. But my key focus in that work has been about encouraging people to be curious and experience time being with horses in nature. And so I've been having a really special time doing that, really enjoying it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kylie, and welcome.
Thank you.
So, yeah, what a diverse group and very different locations. So I'm quite looking forward to hearing about all of your challenges that you've all had in this space, and how you guys have overcome those challenges. So Jodie, moving back to you, would you mind sharing some of that with us?
Yeah, sure. My challenge is I don't have my own herd. So having that lack of control really over, what horses I work with, and it's finding the right centres to work with. You need to make sure that those centres you work with have a similar ethos to you and the same standards as you. For me, how the horses are cared for. Do they have turnout regularly? Are they out as much as possible? Is the centre client focused? If even going through that door I don't feel comfortable over how the horses are cared for or their standards, then it's going to be a tricky way forward. But there are plenty of centres out there to find. And I suppose once you do find those centres, it's about getting people to buy in. So yard managers and owners of riding schools, they are looking to make money, but you need to get them. I need to get them to see the other side as well of why it's so important we're doing this work, and getting that buy-in of maybe giving them a free taster so they understand what's happening.
Do you think that works? And do you think that works, Jodie? Do you find that people change their views as you give them an example or a taster of this?
Absolutely. I mean, even the majority of the most caring centres haven't ever experienced EFL work, haven't ever really spent that time of connection with a horse, and those horses that they think they really understand and they know who those horses are, actually spending a 15-minute experience with a horse with EFL, they start to see a completely different side, and it's great, and hopefully then that will start to feed into the centre and how those horses are being looked after and thought of as well. And the other, understanding riding schools. I've been in riding schools for most of my career, and riding schools have a tough time. They're under time restraints. You have the general public walking in all the time. And again, if you've given that experience to them, they understand how important it is to hold the space. Otherwise, you do end up with those situations of, you're halfway through a session and then, you've run over. So the next lesson comes storming in with 5 horses for a group session while you're halfway through yours. So they need to understand, and the staff need to understand how special it is in those moments, and you don't want them broken.
No, that's really interesting. And how, what is it like working with the horses in some of these environments, particularly maybe around the selection of horses? Is that something that you've been able to maybe intervene a little bit with the selection, or are you very reliant on those horses being chosen for you and presented to you, on a session, on a case-by-case basis? How does that work in practice?
At first, you take what you're given, because you've got to go with the flow. Again, there might be tends to be a lot of restriction on the centres what horses are working. I obviously ask them to make sure that the horses do like being with people, and also that understanding that, to me, an EFL session is equivalent for the horse as an advanced riding lesson. so that they understand they can't just stick that horse in because it's got a spare hour between 3 other hours it's done that day. And it's some horses in riding schools, they are institutionalized and it's how they cope. But if you have a horse that's so institutionalized, when it comes into the arena, it just shuts down, that's a really difficult situation. But I suppose also, the more experienced you are, you're quick to change. You had a plan, you thought you were going to be doing something, and now you've got a horse that actually doesn't want to move. Okay, well, today we're going to do an EFL session on connecting and picking the horse's feet up without touching them, or asking the horse to take a step back rather than actually maybe doing a task. So going with the flow works. And then as you build up a relationship with those centres, you can have a little bit more influence on them, certainly.
So, I mean, it sounds like you've actually been overcoming some of the challenges really quite well from what you've described, Jodie.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, isn't it? And when you start out, you're not, you know, that confident about running those sessions at the beginning anyway. You're dealing with clients that are new to you, you're dealing with centres that are new to you. But as down the line, you know, after 10 years, you start to get more confident. And I suppose my clarity to the centre about what I expect and what I want from them, and hopefully that they start to see how much the horses get from those sessions as well. And you get some really good buy-in, and it's working in collaboration. So I don't tend to go to a centre and hire the centre facilities. I tend to go in and work in partnership with them, so that we create the programme together. We have that buy-in, they're part of what I'm doing. And that also helps me on other things such as policy and procedure and insurance, and all that side of it actually is down to them, because I come in and I as such freelance for them. So it makes my life a lot easier rather than have to do all that side of it myself as well.
Cool.
Yeah, some really helpful hints and tips there, I think, Jodie, for other people in your situation. I think that's been really helpful. Thank you.
And I think there's something nice there about in the middle that you said, really about that trusting the process as well. Actually, what happens when you get a horse that's not particularly engaged with the process, there is still things that your clients can learn. So it's not about being stuck in that, oh, we're not going to be able to do this today. So it's being adaptable,
absolutely,
isn't it?
Absolutely. And hopefully that horse might be a little bit more engaged next time I see them as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you. Kai, moving on to you. So again, very similar to Jodie, it'd be really helpful if you could maybe just talk us through some of the challenges that you have faced, you know, throughout your journey or through your journey, and maybe how you've managed to overcome some of those challenges.
Okay, yeah, you're correct. It is actually similar to Jodie's story. Again, I don't have my own herd. So an initial challenge was I had to go out and find a herd to work with, which also in my circle, as it were, there's not many people that have their own horses either. But that was really where I initially started, was kind of putting it out there that I needed horses and could anyone help me? And fortunately, a contact knew of a riding school in Wellingborough that was actually round about the time when I wanted to work with a herd. They were actually closed, mainly due to the different restrictions right now around the pandemic, which also kind of became a challenge as well in itself with the different lockdowns and the regional restrictions. But yeah, that turned out to be a blessing that the riding school was actually closed, because unlike Jodie, I actually got more or less the run of the place, if you like, because there wasn't people coming in to do riding lessons. There was literally just me, my clients, and the yard managers, and that was it. So once I kind of built that rapport with the yard managers, we were kind of off and away with it. clients that they were kind of also sourced sort of a little bit by the yard managers, because they kind of knew people in the village locally to them. And so I just kind of said, you know, is there anyone that would benefit from this work? And they already had like a bunch of people that they knew from the riding school, from going there and having lessons. And so I kind of pulled from their client list, if you like.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's really interesting. So it's as though they were not seeing you as a competitor in any way. Obviously, if they were letting you tap into their clients, so that's really interesting. You know, if you wanted to talk maybe just for a minute about, you know, the views coming from the riding school around this work, the equine facilitated learning work.
Yeah, one of the yard managers was actually like works at the yard part-time and then does nursing full-time.
Okay.
So she is obviously stressed out a lot right now with everything going on in the hospitals and stuff. So she can see that, you know, mental health right now is really important. And her colleagues that she works with are obviously also equally stressed out. So it was really easy for her to go, hey, actually, we've got this guy that's trying this new thing at our horse riding school. And do you kind of want to come along and, you know, see if you'll benefit from that?
Okay. Sounds like it was quite timely.
Yeah, they seemed really open to it, and it all just sort of happened all at the right time.
Mm.
That's incredible, because it really sounds like you were pushing an open door there.
Yeah.
So you doesn't sound like you had a big break with these people to actually get them on side or to the value of what you might be offering.
No, I really didn't. It seemed like the universe was coming together in more than one way for that to all happen.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kai. It's been really helpful and interesting. Thank you. Great. So, Shelley, moving on to you, and obviously you're over in Australia. So I'm looking forward to hearing about maybe some of the challenges and the way you've overcome them over in Australia, whether they're the same or similar to some of the challenges that we have here in the UK.
Hi, Jane. Thank you. We're very fortunate here, as in what Kai said about COVID. Yeah, we're very lucky here with that. So that is a bit different to the UK. So we are able to just, you know, we're in Queensland, so we are carrying on as normal. So, but what my biggest challenge is, what I've found is getting more into this work and wanting to do more and more, obviously, because I'd love to set out on my own. I just found that there's lots and lots of different therapy programs, but just looking at my own personal challenges in life, I found that there wasn't many that that are specific to maybe one area. So I thought to myself, right, how can I make this different and make it more just make it different for people in comparison and make it unique. And thinking of what I've been through in life as well, I just thought of one of those challenges. And there's a program I would love to maybe concentrate on with people with obsessive compulsive disorders. And obviously, when I start doing the work myself, other programs as well, but maybe just concentrate on one area, so people can look me up and think, right, they do this specifically. And so I just thought I did my research. There's not many that do this, and there's so many different therapy programs in Australia, especially in Queensland where I am. And I couldn't see that they do that specifically, or one unique program. So I just thought, well, maybe that's what I should do. I should go down that road and make one unique program and hopefully get the clients to come and connect with the horses with that type of issue. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is actually your challenge for yourself has been, you know, basically identifying what you're passionate about and what makes you different to some of the other people that are out there and are close to you, and overcoming it by looking to get yourself into an area that is a little bit more specialist.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Knowing what horses have done for myself in life, firsthand. So just knowing what they can do and the magic they can bring, and then thinking, how can I make this unique compared to other programs that'll bring the clients in and give them the magic of the horses as well. So that's what I feel. That was my challenge initially, thinking, how can I make it all different? And then I researched what is maybe not out there as much, and then bringing that in to make it just this unique program.
And so how does it feel for you, Shelley? I mean, that's brilliant. How does that feel for you, Shelley, now that, if you like, you've found that area that you can call your own?
Oh yes, it's like ah, you know, it's because I've been all the years that I've been doing this work, I've seen, you know, the same magic happen, but there's always been this one thing that I've thought, what can we bring that's different? What can we, or not so much different, but what can we help more with that's maybe not out there as much? And so, and this was what I found is maybe not as much, particularly in Australia. I have looked at other programs in different countries, but I've found in Queensland that I haven't found as much in this particular area of mental health.
Brilliant. Sounds
Yeah,
really
so yeah.
Watch this space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Shelley. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
And moving on to Kylie, looking forward to hearing about some of the challenges you've had over in Luxembourg, or you know, out and about where you are, and again, how have you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, sure. I've certainly certainly had a fair share of challenges, and I think, you know, trying to pull it all together, you know, and deliver what I wanted clarity to be here in Luxembourg has been multifaceted. And because I am in practice on my own, it certainly it requires a certain amount of stamina to keep with it. But because I'm so passionate about the work, I certainly have been able to find that. Let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about language. So in Luxembourg, there are 3 official languages, and we have Luxembourgish, we have German, and we have French. And the business language is English. And of course, if you think about administration in Luxembourg, it's largely done in French. But when it comes to the work, what I found really important to focus in on when it came to the clients was you're really interested in ensuring that you can get to the essence of the work. And to get to the essence of the work, you need to be able to develop connection with the client, and the client needs to be able to communicate. So it always had to be about ensuring we could speak English together. So that's been interesting, to keep reminding myself of that, you know, that, and I think, you know, as I move on to the next challenge around borders, I found that really interesting when I was in the riding school as it related to the language, because the riding school was French speaking. When I was in the riding school in Luxembourg, I then realized I needed to change borders and take my horses out of the riding school to be an effective equine coach that incorporated EFL into my practice. So I moved to Belgium. So I've crossed the border to find a different kind of environment. So again, being another challenge around environment, is the environment suitable for what I'm trying to achieve?
And I think Jodie touched on that a little bit as well, right at the beginning, you know, and just talking about some of those challenges that an environment can bring.
Yeah, it certainly does. And with that and the introduction of COVID into the mix, I needed to find an environment where I could really just have the horses in a very natural setting, which allowed a lot of natural space by default for the clients. So there's a lot of ability there to have a lot of distance. And so in that case, I've now moved to Germany. I've moved the horses to Germany, which then comes to the challenge around location. So, you know, my horses are in Germany. I'm in Luxembourg. So, you know, I'm mindful that the first thing I have to consider in establishing the practice is to involve horses requires the horses to be in an environment where they are well and where the clients are well. So yeah, it requires that I do a bit of driving, but the way I've been able to overcome these challenges, and this is what's been really surprising, I think, in the first place, is that there actually are a lot of English speakers on the continent, as we refer to it. And that's been a real surprise and delight, because they really have reached out to me. The other aspect is, in saying that, what I've definitely begun to really understand is the amount of supportive community that is out there, that it can be so helpful with the knowledge that we all hold individually. And you're actually able to gain access to that supportive community in a physical way, but also in a virtual way. And I think that this, you know, what we're doing here today, or this evening in this case, is an example of that. And, you know, I just take it step by step, and remain open. And so far, so good.
And Kylie, I think that's really interesting, because again, you know, just Kai mentioned obviously the COVID topic that, you know, obviously has been a big part of this year for all of us. But the you know, as myself and Graham talked about earlier, the virtual world, or the expansion now of the virtual world and the virtual community. And as you said, Kylie, you know, that's why we're all in the room, the virtual room today. That really is, I think, opening up that potential for network, and you know, having these discussions around the different challenges, some of which are maybe similar and some of which are quite different, but help us all to think in slightly different ways, maybe, about, you know, going about this work.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I think that. Sorry, Jen.
No, go
I
for
think. No, super. I think it goes to the curiosity that exists. I think that the curiosity, you know, leads us to be creative. And I think when you want to continue on in this field and not allow, you know, the inevitable challenges that arise in our lives to you know, they tend to divert you, sure, but, you know, I think there's always a solution, and you've just got to remain open. And yeah, I think it's been an absolute fascinating period of time for me, just in the last, you know, what has it now been, about 8 months or so of COVID. I mean, how virtual everything has become. So incredibly grateful, and incredibly grateful for this opportunity. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And I think Kai just had a question there for you, Kylie.
Oh, sure.
Sorry,
go ahead, Kai.
Yeah, actually, just in something you were saying there, do you find it a challenge for your client base being across borders? Do you pull from wherever the herd is located at the time, or are you finding that actually your clients are willing to travel for the work?
Yeah, really interesting question, Kai. You know what's fascinating? They are willing to travel for the work. And this has allowed me to, continue to be really open and consider the next possibility around, well, if they're prepared to travel to where I am, then I would suggest they're also prepared to be with me and the herd in other places, in other ways. So I think what I've observed is that once you touch people, you touch them, they begin to really to feel the difference that the involvement in their lives that horses and being in nature and a natural setting with them has. They really stick with them. It's really fascinating. So yeah, they will travel.
No, I mean, Kylie, I mean, that's quite a journey that you've
Yeah.
described, both in geographically and for you, for your horses, and for your clients. In that journey, is there one thing that really leaps out at you as the powerful learning? You know, that's what made the difference. That's what really got this going.
Yeah, you know what it was? It's absolutely believing in yourself and really getting in touch with what your unique offer is. And when you're unique and you're authentic in your offer, what you find is that people are very drawn to that. Of course, you know, the realities of it is taking it out through the relevant channels and reaching your client base. But, you know, I think, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of where I saw the challenge and how I got over that challenge, was it's community. I really believe that community is so incredibly helpful in bringing about, you know, the knowledge and the solutions for, in this case, as you asked me the question, you know, overcoming that. So a man is, what is it? A man doesn't live on bread alone is an expression. I really believe that this field is so diverse, and I think there's so much opportunity, and people are really open, and I think they genuinely want to help each other to bring the magic really of what's possible in this work. So
I think that's a really nice point that you make there. You know, the work is so diverse, and it's very easy for us to get stuck in a specific way of working, a specific exercise, a specific task, when actually the power of this work is that connection with the horses. And the more that we can facilitate that connection to occur, that's where the learning occurs for people.
absolutely.
They
are amazing teachers, horses. I mean, we facilitate that, and I believe they facilitate that journey incredibly well for their human companions. And it's wonderful, and it's a privilege to stand and be by them as that experience occurs for that client. It's incredible. Yeah.
And I think that topic really has threaded through our conversations today with everybody that are in the virtual room. You know, I feel that has actually come up for everybody that has spoken today.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Jennifer. I mean, I've got three things that just keep coming out from what people have been saying in our discussions today, and it's like, essentially, I mean, it starts and finishes with authenticity. You know, because we need to build the connections. We're talking about building connections and building new relationships to make this work happen. If we're not authentic with people, those connections are not going to happen. But there's also this believing in yourself, which I think each one of you have so wonderfully exhibited here in this discussion, and believing in the process. So believing in the horses that they can do this, that they will do this with us. That's just a lovely resonant message for me about the power of this work. I mean, would you agree, Jen?
No, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, everybody, what a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any parting thoughts or feelings that they'd like to share? It'd be great just to have. Maybe we can do that in the same order, if you're happy to, that we went round the Ridley. So just Jodie, would you like a parting reflection?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, thinking about how I work with centres, it's that taking those opportunities and finding those right partnerships. There are plenty centres about, and at this time, I know everything's a little bit restricted, but centres are looking for other ways to earn money. And also for me, I always think hopefully I get that added benefit of improving the horses and improving how the staff understand the horses they're with.
Thank you. Kai, a reflection?
Just if you're thinking about getting into this work and you're any kind of on the fence at all, just go for it, because you won't regret it.
Oh, bless you.
Well, I think we'd all yay to that one, Carl.
I think we would. Thank you, Kai.
Shelley?
Yeah, definitely, Kai. I so agree with that. Gosh, my reflection is, this work is so wonderful, and it doesn't matter how long you do this work, every moment you're with a horse and you see the connection and what happens just blows me away. And I never ever thought I would be doing this now, from dreaming about it as a really young child, living in Wales, bringing my first pony home to my mum and saying, "Mum, I bought a pony." And I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but it was a long time ago.
We won't
I'm
ask.
living the
Okay.
dream.
Fantastic, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley.
Kylie, a reflection?
I think I can relate a little bit with Shelley. If someone had said to me, you know, back when I was 8 years old on my cousin's farm, you know, riding around bareback with my cousin, we'd dink on the pony. His name was Christopher. That I would be living in Luxembourg. Excuse me, I have to laugh at myself for a minute. And having actually transformed myself from something that was totally cognitive. I was all head, you know, I was not in my body at all. And yet I was someone that just so dearly loved to be with animals, and to be able now to combine, you know, the animals and the way that I want to be, both when I look at it from an integrative perspective. I use my mind, but I also use my being. I use my body to experience with the horses and facilitate some pretty amazing times with these clients. And I think what's also fascinating for me, just to end it out, it doesn't stop here. And it's like I've got this I can see the next chapter just building, you know, and building, and what that's going to look like. And it's just so exciting, you know. It's just
Fantastic.
wow. So thank you.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Jennifer, would you like to?
I wasn't expecting that, Graham.
Okay. I think just what you're doing. I just to pick up on Kylie's thing. I think what is amazing about this work is that you can do it. You know, Jodie's talked about 10 years. I've been doing it for around 10 years. You just keep learning. It just keeps surprising you, and you don't get. I don't even want to use the word tired of it or bored of it, because every day there's a little bit of magic it shares with you.
No, definitely. I mean, it's definitely an experiential process and learning, and yeah, absolutely love being around the horses. So I think you guys have summed it up very nicely. I don't think I've got anything more to add, actually.
Brilliant. It's been a really lovely conversation with you all. Thanks for sharing your time with us. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to say farewell now. So we'll say farewell to ourselves, and we'll say farewell to the world. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.